Good morning, everyone. Thank you to my two watchers right now that are joining me today. I'm uh, welcoming you to Mornings with the Managers. It's March 22nd, 2023. It's a Wednesday morning, and the Pineapple Express is still uh, dumping water over Monterey. And so, allow me to share with you a few data points about the storms, the winter storms that we have experienced for quite some time now. I think I shared with you the last time that we met. Our storm events actually started in the last week of December. As you recall, first night had a lot of challenges because they were operating during a time when all the rainstorms started, and we were hit hard over the next couple of weeks and months by various rain events. Last week, Tuesday, was one of those days where we went into the EOC. We had followed, of course, the weather briefings that we attend about twice or three times a day. And it was projected that the wind would hit us hard in the nighttime between Monday to Tuesday morning. While you cannot do a lot during nighttime, we can do a lot during daytime. And so we activated the EOC, and staff arrived as early as 5 a.m. in the morning in the EOC to get everything prepped. And then there was a long time nothing happening because the rain was not coming as hard as we thought, and the wind wasn't coming as hard as we thought. And so we started at 8 o'clock, very quiet day, and then things got a little bit out of hand or more excited. And last week, Tuesday, we had quite a number of trees coming down again. And our tree crews were busy, our fire teams were busy to run to those areas, drive to those areas, check them all out, secure them. And we handled last week Tuesday's event out of the EOC with our tree crews and our fire team, and also supported by our CERT teams, for which we are always very grateful. The community has a great spirit in volunteering and helping us in critical situations like that. So that happened last Tuesday. Yesterday, you might have all received also the surprising weather warning that popped up on our smartphones. We really didn't have any indications that it would come that bad to us. We, of course, were following the weather, and we were pre-positioned, and we knew that something would happen. But having this kind of alarm that we received on our smartphones was very surprising to every single one of us. So we immediately activated again our EOC, went it down into the emergency operating mode based on the information that all of you had received as well on your phones, and started managing incidents. Luckily, we didn't have a lot of incidents in Monterey yesterday. We were concerned at one time also about some of our facilities because the alarm or the alert was talking about windows breaking, etc. So we were concerned about the conference center windows. We were concerned about the sports center windows. But luckily, and also from the wind direction and the wind that we actually measured in those areas, we came to the conclusion there was not an immediate threat to our windows of some of our facilities. We had, I believe, 2 or 3 trees toppling over yesterday, and the ground is so saturated it doesn't take a lot of wind to blow the trees over. KSBW yesterday stopped by. They shot some footage out of our EOC. Our assistant city manager, Ned Roshana Sathira, gave an interview to Felix Cortez and shared with them how we are handling all those emergencies. So we are at the end, I hope, of the atmospheric rivers, the Pineapple Express, whatever you may call it. There is another event scheduled for next week, Monday, Tuesday, at least in the weather forecast, and it appears to be minor for us, not as big as the wind was yesterday. Let me share one more point about the wind yesterday. It stopped 4 to 5 miles north of Monterey and turned then towards the Bay Area again. So the wind was approaching Monterey and then took a sharp left turn. So we followed the satellite data, we followed all the information we got, and so that helped us avoid also a harder hit, because the weather actually was on track to hit us, and then decided let's make a left. Last night I went onto the PG&E outage map, and you saw all the yellow dots around San Jose, San Francisco, Santa Cruz area. So that's where the power outages were yesterday. Give you some data points. I just spoke to Louis Macoso, our parks operation manager, and asked him, hey, Louis, how many trees did we actually lose in the public right-of-way over the past 2 3/4 months? His best estimate is anywhere between 60 to 70 trees during that time. And we touched probably the same amount of trees where we had dangling branches from trees where we just had to fix some trees, but we lost 60 to 70 trees toppled over in the city's responsibility. So that does not include private trees. So the loss in private trees is probably equivalent or higher. And then, of course, we have also trees that are located in forested areas in our green belts that are just toppling over and laying there. And they don't need to be removed. They don't pose a fire danger. And we can talk about this a little bit more, but there are quite a substantial loss of trees. Our tree group is running out of money sooner or later, so we'll have to put some more money into the tree crew so they continue not just the emergency work, but also the proactive work, the maintenance of those trees as well, that has to go on. We are hopefully at the end of it. The good news in all of that was also we didn't have major flooding as we had in past years, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Del Monte never flooded. North Fremont never flooded. So our work that we've done over the years helped prevent that, but also the work of our crews out there, because they are Lake El Estero again. We are lowering lake levels there again from 7 feet that it was this morning down to 6 feet. Sometimes we lower it so much that the ducks can walk across from Lake Ellis, from Del Monte over to the small island there, which is called, by the way, the Henry Green Island. So we are lowering the lake levels everywhere. The stormwater outfalls are working. The pumps in the tunnel are working. Overall, everything seems to be very well on track. We fired up, as I shared with you during the power outages, the community center, the youth center, and the library. So the youth center and the library with emergency generators. We will look into this fiscal year's budget, and it would be nice to have fixed emergency generators located at the sports center, possibly also at the conference center. Having one at the sports center, a natural gas generator, might be a wonderful idea for an NCIP rep to propose. We'll bring some of those ideas also to the NCIP, but it would be really helping us to have those kind of provisions in place, because they will help community-wide to ensure that people see a light somewhere, they can still come work out, or they can still come and take a shower. We will process all of that. We will also connect to them about the challenges residents suffered with respect to power outages. As I learned, there are some neighborhoods that were really lucky. These are the neighborhoods on the eastern portion of Monterey this time around. And then there were neighborhoods there that are always hit, which were always hit with power outages. My own neighborhood in New Monterey, I was more in the middle of that. We were lucky. And then we also had a 30-hour power outage, but there were other neighborhoods also within Monterey where they had 72 hours, 96 hours of no power. We need to talk to PG&E. This is not acceptable. The mayor spoke about this last night, and Councilmember Bauer spoke about this last night as well during the council meeting. So we will tackle that topic. I envision maybe a joint meeting between us city managers from Pacific Grove, Carmel, and Monterey with PG&E reps, just to share what we experienced and also to hear what PG&E has to offer. A large-scale undergrounding project is probably the solution to start those in those areas. Spoke about trees last night. We had a council meeting. What was interesting, we had, I believe, 4 or 5 residents speaking up about the tree issues, and those 4 or 5 spoke very much in favor of changing our tree ordinance, which is designed to protect trees. It's a tree ordinance that is designed to preserve trees and the canopy in the city of Monterey, because it's part of Monterey's characteristics to have hillsides with trees. And they spoke about a careful removal of certain trees and allowing property owners to have the final word in what tree has to be removed or not. That right now is not what the community expressed as their will, because the tree ordinance that we have in place requires the city to give the ultimate approval for tree removals. And again, that is what the will of the people was a few years, decades ago, when the tree ordinance was drafted. It's reflective of that time, and maybe we have to make changes to the tree ordinance. So that was brought forward. And at the same token, we had residents speaking up, 2, I believe, the number of that, 5 in favor of removing trees based on property owners' decisions. And we had 2 that basically are advocating on behalf of the trees not to just remove trees, create a committee that reviews every single tree and works through those issues. So again, you have an interesting proposition from a group of homeowners, particularly in Skyline Forest, and you have already neighbors out there, activists out there who will argue quite something differently. So we will figure it out over the next couple of months or so. I think we need to reach a normal state. And then once we have a normal state with respect to the weather pattern, we can maybe trying to connect the dots and see what we can do. There are pros and cons to everything, and be assured that through a public process, we probably will figure it out. Last night's council meeting did not only have that public comment sections, we also talked about 3 other larger items that were interesting. We adjusted our annual fees. Usually we stayed within the 4 to 5% increase there, because we have cost increases here as well, like everyone else. We also will suffer under the inflation effects. Supplies are more expensive, gasoline is more expensive, etc. So I think what we brought forward to the council is a very fair, reasonable adjustments of the fees that are now becoming effective. Also, we brought forward our mid-year budget proposal. The mid-year budget proposal was somewhat a positive news story. We had a surplus that we call unassigned balance. We had a surplus in the budget, and it was around $8 million. And when I said a surplus of $8 million, that basically ends with June 30th, 2022. At that time, we had that. The books are closed on that year, so we saw how much money are the revenues that came in, what was the TOT, what was the sales tax, and we also saw what we actually spent. And what I shared with the council is that at any given time we had 55 to 60 vacant positions here in the city, and those vacancies contributed significantly to those one-time budget savings. We haven't figured out yet why we have so many vacancies there. We are still hiring. We are hiring all the time right now. But the flip side is we also lose employees at the same rate as we gain employees. That's probably a sign of the times that doesn't speak against our organization, that we are not a great place to work for. But I think it is a mix of all the various elements in our group here in our city that contributed to that. So there were about $3.4 million in salary savings. We also underspend in operational accounts. By that, I mean when we create budgets for the Public Works Department and the Parks Department, Parks and Recreation Department, and other departments, there is money allocated to various accounts. So there's money for operational supplies. When you work in parks, you need to buy shovels, you need to buy dirt, you need to buy seed, etc., etc. When you work in streets, you need to buy gravel and asphalt and concrete, poles for traffic lights, or poles for street signs, etc. And so we underspent in operational accounts last year. So that also contributed to a little bit over $1 million in savings. And that combined with higher TUT than expected and higher sales tax than expected, that really led to this one-time budget surplus. We are allocating some of those funds to various purposes, while we are retaining about $3 million of the unassigned balance. We want to have that buffer right now because we don't know yet how do we end the current fiscal year. And you heard me speak for 12 minutes about the storms. The storms have an impact on our main revenue source, the hospitality industry, particularly TOT and sales tax. So if the sun is not shining, if the weather is lousy, people don't come necessarily to Monterey. They might go stay home, or they might go into areas where they can experience a lot of snow again for the first time in many years. So we expect that our hotel tax and sales tax will be lower than we estimated. And what that means is we need to have some reserves to get through the fiscal year right now. So we keep $3 million in the bank, so to speak. The other money we allocated to various reserves, and we gave back $1.2 million to the NCIP. The NCIP was generous last year in June when they allocated one big project to help us with cost of maintaining the sports center. That was $1.2 million for a dehumidifier. Now, the dehumidifier is basically a big machine that sucks out the wet air out of the sports center, mainly generated in the swimming pool area. And by doing that, of course, it ensures that all the steel structures and the walls, etc., will be drier than normal and will not rot as fast. So the humidifier is a very important piece. I'll give you an so we returned the $1.2 million to the NCIP because now that we have those funds, there is no need to really have the NCIP suffer in allocating less money than they actually should allocate it to neighborhood and community-wide projects. So that was part of the proposal last night, and the council approved all of that as well. Give you a quick update about the dehumidifier. We have designed it together with a company here in the city, Axiom Engineers, and we are at about design cost of $25,000 for the new dehumidifier, and we are probably 95% done with the design. So we will go and purchase one dehumidifier sooner or later and get it done. We have invested over the past 9 months close to $400,000 in improvement in the Monterey Sports Center. One of them was to fix the slide. Another one were locker room upgrades. So the floors in the locker room have been upgraded. The floors in the studios have been refurbished, in the gymnasium, etc. So if you go into the sports center, take a good look. We already spent over $400,000 there in the last 9 months to keep that 30-year-old facility looking attractive and ready for the next 30 years. So that what happened last night about the budget. And then the third item that the council discussed was to create a side fund for the pension liabilities. It's basically a piggy bank that you invest with another group of pension experts. It's like what we do right now with Calpers, but it's a slightly different spin. And this money will help us to support changes in our pension obligations by having this reserve and having that reserve invested, and then taking money from there occasionally to support our Calpers obligations, because Calpers is our pension fund that is highly dependable on the stock market. And if you follow the stock market for the past 9 months or so, you will see that there have been really reductions in the stock market, and we kind of expect that Calpers rates will go up again. It's continuously a moving target. So we allocated a lot of those funding to various funds, created a Section 115 fund as well. And I think the city is in a way better position than it was 2 years ago with respect to having created now all those opportunities and funds that secure our quality of life and our continued level of services. Council last night spoke also about restoring some other services, reopening of the Kona Neighborhood Center, creating programs on North Fremont Street, facade program, etc. We will take a good look at all of that and enter also in dialogues with the businesses there, because they also have to contribute to that. It cannot be just the city that is there to bail out private enterprises. They have to carry also part of the weight, because when their businesses are doing well, it's not like we have a profit sharing agreement with them. So we are in the same boat. We need to figure something out jointly, and I think our collaborative spirit that we have in the city will, as always, prevail, and a rising tide lifts all boats. So we will continue with that in that spirit. We had a wonderful turnout last weekend where we gave away free plants. It's called the Horticulture Fair at the Friendly Plaza. We had over 200 people attending, benefiting from all the plants that nurseries are donating to us. These are basically all the rejects that nobody wants to buy, but talented gardeners, they can turn those rejects into beautiful plants. So there's a wonderful idea. Instead of sending all those plants to the plant cemetery, you send them to the city, and once a year we have this big fair, and people come and pick up the plants and nurture them to beautiful plants in their own garden. So there was a huge success again. Over 200 people showed up. And then on Sunday, we had the Navy concert. The Navy band, Sea Chandlers, were there, where over 1,000 people attended. It was really a great event. I think the band was, the singers were excellent, high quality. And I think every single one of the folks who came to the event was very much impressed with that. And we had folks there from young children to veterans in their late 80s, early 90s attending and warming hearts. So that was a wonderful community event. And we thank the Navy band, Sea Chandlers, for coming here and thinking of us. So I hope we can repeat this event soon. Want to talk about Laguna Grande JPA. We will have a new board meeting scheduled for Thursday, March 30th at 6 p.m. in Seaside. We will post the agenda as soon as it is available, but the next JPA meeting for the Laguna Grande JPA will be Thursday, March 30th, 6 p.m. So that's next week, Thursday at 6 p.m. Any information that we have, we'll post on Have Your Say Monterey. Go on that right now. Take a look at the Laguna Grande Park Plan to see where we are, and then also tune in or join our team in Seaside. It will be the first JPA meeting without Mayor Clyde. Our representative will be Councilmember Garcia. Last week, we received the 2023 Outstanding Local Streets and Roads Award by the League of California Cities. They give out 5 awards only, and our city was one of the cities honored for that, and we got it for our SCOOT system, which is basically the safety or intelligent transportation system. These are all the small little cameras you see on top of traffic lights, which basically are connected to a computer, and they are calculating at any given time the number of traffic flow that they see on our roads, and then they coordinate all the signals among themselves through their artificial intelligence to decide when a signal should become red and should become green again. They do this on a constant basis. They keep track also of the traffic at what time, what day of the year, etc. They already know what they want to do in June with the traffic, but based on last year's performance, but they keep it dynamic and will update as they see it. So that system has cut back a great deal on our stop and go in the city, and the travel time it takes to get from, let's say, David Avenue to Del Monte is cut back by 16%, 16. Delays have been cut back by 30%, and the stops at traffic signals have been cut back by 40%. So that's quite an accomplishment of that system. And by doing all of that, you increase the travel times to get from point A to point B. But when you reduce also the number of stops and goes and the delays, you also reduce the carbon emissions. So all in all, you also do something for the environment, because the cars, if they don't have to stop so much, they don't have to use so much gasoline again to get up to speed again. So great, successful story that was funded through third-party funds, mainly grants. No general fund was spent on that, and also by doing in-house project management, we also cut back on cost and were able to install more of those systems in our roadways. We have right now over 41 signalized intersections equipped with that type of camera. No data gets stored there. It's also not a high resolution camera, so to speak. It doesn't identify license plates or people who are driving in there. What it basically does, it just counts the cars. It's hardwired, so there is no Wi-Fi that is connecting all the things. It's hardwired to the traffic signal cabinets, and it allows us to keep track and all of that. So great success. Congratulations to our traffic team. Last item, Canary Road Days 2023 is happening right now through April 20th. Our library, as always, is organizing this. And if you want to look at the Canary Road Day schedule, go on to monterey.org/Canary Road 2023. That's all what I have to say today. Hope you have a wonderful day. Not a lot of chat activity, so I want to thank all those non-employees, if there were anyone who watched, and then thank all those guys who are watching later and put it up on their YouTube and check it all out. Thank you again for always supporting our team, for supporting our staff. We appreciate it. We are serious when we say we want to hear from you. And if you have something that we're not doing right, please let us know. And if we do something right, please let us know that as well, because like you and me and others, we really appreciate also here and there a friendly word. With that, have a wonderful day, stay dry, and this all shall pass. I think when I meet with you in 2 or 3 weeks again, we will have this atmospheric river situation passed, and we will actually go now into making Monterey beautiful during springtime to get all ready for a beautiful summer. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.